it sounds. Hi, Kelly.
Hi,
I
James.
hear the new little tone. That's
Boom.
it's a little different. Thanks,
Yes. Thanks, honey.
Is that a D major, minor?
I don't know. It's in tune now.
Kelly and I were having this discussion a week ago about that. Is that sound in tune? And her husband, who's a musician, who's an excellent musician, said it's out of tune a little bit, so he tunes it. Thanks.
He said it's driving me nuts. It has to be in tune.
I love that. Us three Virgos, you go into a room and there's a picture which painting which is obscure, in a hotel or something. I'm like, I have to go and balance it. Do you do that?
I don't do it as much. But I was with Michelle over the weekend, and Michelle did it. We were walking down the hallway to get to our rooms, and she stops and she goes, "Excuse me," and she just had to fix the paintings.
I'm the same way. I have to.
And she's a Virgo. Yeah, so there you go.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to our show, You and the Universe, and where we discuss many different topics. I would say, Kelly, spiritual topics, philosophy, philosophical topics, psychological topics.
Yeah.
Everyday topics, and we get suggestions from you too in comments. You can always write us in comments and let us know. And how you doing there, Kelly? You had a workshop this week.
Oh my gosh, you guys, I have to tell everybody what happened. I went to the All Souls event here in Wisconsin, which was great. James, it was only a 90-minute drive for me. Do you know people came from Qatar, Canada, Mexico, all over the United States? Wow. And I only had to drive 90 minutes. It was fabulous.
Amazing.
Oh my gosh. But it was a wonderful weekend. But I have to tell you guys the most amazing story because
that's right.
So if everybody remembers last week, we had a page 37 situation.
That was wild with that way. And we're talking about signs. And you said you had the book White Eagle, book White Mind. I said, okay, Jen, just pick a number.
Pick a number. And we were talking about patience.
Patience.
We're talking about
each page or the sections of the book that talk about all different types of things. So I said, okay, stop at Kelly's thing. They're going through the book, and they say, okay, 37. And you stopped at page 37. And it was titled
Patience.
It was so weird.
It was really, so now every time we do something synchronistically,
10 degree. It's a 10 degreer.
We say page 37.
Yeah, or you can explain 90% of things, but you can't explain that 10%. You just that 10%. Brian Weiss used to say that to me. 90% things you're going to, but 10%. That's a 10%er, which can't explain.
10%er. Well, I got to tell you about this 10%er, and this was an unbelievable situation. So I was at this event for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. It was a lovely event, and on Saturday, we had dinner plans, and we had dinner plans at the hotel. Downstairs in the hotel dining room. We'd had those dinner plans, James, just for the record, for weeks. So I called James after I'd spoken that day, and I called you. It was about 5:15 Central Time, and I called you, and you're in San Diego.
And that was a Saturday or Sunday?
Saturday. And
I was filling up bird feeders. That's what I was doing. I'm trying to think what I was doing. I was filling up bird feeders.
Well, they were just asking me how it went and how the speakers were and yada, yada. And then suddenly you said to me, I don't want you to drive tonight. I don't want you to drive in the snow. I don't have a good feeling about it. I'm worried about it. I don't want you to drive. When I say out of the blue, and I said, I'm not driving, James. I'm staying in a hotel. It's not snowing. I'm going to go downstairs into my, I'm going to go have a nice martini. I'm going to go right back to bed. That's it. But that's not what happened. So, and I told you that even twice. I said, don't worry. And you said, no, I just have a bad feeling about this. And I said, well, okay. So I hang up the phone with you. I get a call from Michelle, and she said, I don't know how to tell you this, but our reservations were just canceled. I said, what do you mean our reservations were canceled? We've had them for weeks. She said, no, Kelly, there's been a mix up, and our room, everything is canceled. And we have to go off the property to a restaurant. And she goes, and we can drive because I had my car. And I go, wait a minute, I don't want to drive. And I don't want to go off property. And she's like, well, I'm sorry. And we had 6 people with us, James. So I was bugged out of my mind. But anyway, I go to get my car and it starts to snow. Now I'm driving with Michelle in my car and Julianne, shout out to Julianne, in my car, and we're driving, and it's starting to snow and snow and snow, and I'm looking for deer. And
That's right.
James goes, whatever you do, don't drive in the snow. And all of a sudden I'm driving, and Julianne shouts out, I'm going 20 miles an hour, by the way. And Julianne shouts out, there's a raccoon. And a raccoon ran right under my car. There you go. But that night didn't end after that. Then we go to dinner and had dinner. I had to drive back. Now it's a mini blizzard. And there is no place to park. And I don't know what it is about hotels in Wisconsin, but they don't have valet. There was no valet anywhere. So I had to park my car at the last parking space out in the North 80. I don't even know where I was. And I dropped everybody else because nobody had a coat because we didn't know it was going to snow. And I had to walk back like a frozen rat when I got back into my room. And I called you and I said, I can't believe you told me that. This is what happened. I was stunned.
But that's who we are. I mean, that happens to me with you as well. You say things once they happen. But it's been happening a lot lately. I mean,
the synchronicities, James, are really, really coming a lot.
Your mom came through with one thing about silver, and all of a sudden she came to you in silver or something.
It's blue and sparkles. You said to me, you said something about sparkles, and that morning you said your mom has all these sparkles. And I said, I can't believe you're telling me this. I actually had a dream where she was wearing blue with sparkles all over. I couldn't quite. And then you
were doing a lot of that lately. The veil is thinner, right? And we've been so into this work for a while, and we just, I think we spend more time in between this world and the other worlds, and those waves of, that's existing. Those the waves of realms of being, if you will. We're in the realm of form, but there are so many realms around us and levels of consciousness, and so you and I are often there because we work in those levels. So. So that's great.
That's true. and today, James, is the 11/11 portal.
And what does that mean, Cal?
Well, it's a really interesting thing. It's November 11th, and it's 2025. So 2025 is a 9, and the date is at 11. So 9, 10, 11. Actually, a 22 day, but it's an 11/11. So 11/11 portal is a big deal. It means that. And in a 9 year, so it means that what is it that you want to look at for the year? The energy is starting now for the year of 2026. 11/11 portal opens the energy for 2026. And I'm going to tell you why, because 2026 is a 1 year, James. It's a new beginning.
New beginnings, yeah.
So here we go. And interesting enough, if you think about it, January 1st is a 1/1, and then 2026 is a 1. So again, we've got that 1/1/1 energy.
And then you have 2026, and that's an 8. Plus we're in 1/1, so that's a 10. So 1. It all adds up to 1.
It all adds up to 9. So what we're looking at on today's date is what exactly are you wanting to take into the year 2026? What can you leave behind that's an ending? And what we're going to see is people. Haven't you noticed this? That people are making large changes. Like they're moving to new countries. They're leaving their relationships. They're changing careers. We're going into this unknown territory.
Everybody I know is going through things like that.
Right? Everybody I know.
And health issues as well. That's changing people and moving and new jobs, like you said, relationships. Yes.
It's like, what do you want to leave behind with the old version of you? And bringing into the new version of you. Let's look at this 2026 as a rebirth year. And the thing about this year is it starts off like a banshee, like fast.
Well, it's funny, Kelly, because I was mentioning I was mentioning before we get on that the portal, and lady at the gym, a trainer goes, "Oh, it's 11/11," and I said, "It's portal. It's a portal." And she goes, "I missed it." I said, "No,
you didn't miss it.
You're in it." Yeah. But it's a pretty amazing time. So I feel like, I think you said to me earlier that things will in that next year in 2020, you'll feel, we talked about this morning, things are speeding up, and I feel like there's a speeding up even more so than we're at right now next year.
Yeah.
Right.
I do too, James, and especially with that one beginning at a 1/1/1. That's like
One,
we're
one,
off to the
one.
races. 111. We are off to the races.
And a lot of times when I see ones, and it's a sign that people, new beginnings
Right.
and also I was new beginnings spiritually too. That's how I always look at it. I
Totally.
always look at things from, as we're going to talk about tonight, a soul's perspective, a spiritual perspective, and I maybe I'm getting older, but everything I kind of look at now is like when you're first growing up and you're a toddler and growing up to young kids and you get a little older, you look at things in this physical, you adapt and you try to integrate into this new world, this physical world. And now I think as we get older, I think we start getting kind of like, and I think this happens, we become more, for me personally, I feel I'm much more aware of the spiritual world in that I feel that more. And it's not because I'm a medium, but I think it's because I'm getting older and I'm done. I'm not done here, but I have an understanding that there's so much more to us than just this physical earth, where our souls having the human experience. And that's what I was saying this the other day, if you could wake up I was saying this on a podcast I did, and I'll tell everyone about it in just a minute. And it was really the talk about that, every day, I start the day off from kind of a spiritual perspective, from a soul perspective. What am I going to learn today? What am I going to discover today? And it says exactly when I bring my doggy Pearl out to go piddle. Say, what are we going to discover today? And I kind of open up my, my day like that, because it's really true. It's it's the soul's perspective, where soul's having the human perspective. And that's really what it's about.
And I'm curious because you just did an extraordinary podcast with somebody that you have known for many years. And to look back at your life with this person, tell everybody what you did, because it's really amazing.
Okay, and I put it on Facebook. I put a little picture. I was on TED. I have a bug that wants to come here. Okay, but you got to stay on that side. I did a podcast for my good friend Ted Danson, who did Cheers, and there it is.
There it is.
The name with Ted and Woody, and Woody wasn't there. It was just Ted and myself, and we hadn't seen each other in about 6-7 years, probably. But it was interesting because I drove to LA and we connected, and it was this, even when I talked to him on the phone, it's just like it's one of those people, him and Mary, his wife. So like, we've known each other forever. It just feels very familiar and it's easy. And we just pick up from where we've left off, and if no time has gone on. And really the last time I really hung out with them 20 years ago. And I did my movie for 2002. That was done. So that was over 20 years ago. But we didn't have time to be one-on-one with each other. So it was the first time him and I sat one-on-one in his studio and did the podcast. And it was a wonderful podcast. So I'm not sure if it's up yet, but guys can go and check it out. And it was also filmed. But yeah, he reminded me of something which I'd love to share with everybody, because it's a pretty amazing story. We talked about these things today. We're talking about the soul, where soul's having a human experience. And he said, everybody, I got to bring up this story. And he mentioned a reading that I did at his house about 20-some years ago. And I'll give everyone the background. Mary Steenburgen, his wife, was on a plane. And she said, I never talked to anybody on a plane. And she said, I'm sitting next to this guy, and she heard her father from the spirit world say, talk to the man next to you, talk to the man next to you. The man next to her was a writer writing a script. And she goes, what are you writing? And he said, well, it's funny you ask. I didn't want to interrupt you, but it's so weird. I was just thinking of you for this part, for this movie I'm doing based on a book by James from Praagh. And she goes, oh, Talking to Heaven. I have it right here. Talking to Heaven. I was happening to that right here. This book right here. Right.
Such a good book. Such a great book.
Yeah. And it was, and he goes, yes. And she goes, can you get me in touch with him? He goes, I might. So to make a long story short, I spoke to Mary, and I didn't, this is maybe 20 years ago, was going to do a reading at their house and they lived in LA. And so that was it. I didn't know anybody that was going to be there. And I just said, fine, I'd be more than happy to do it. Because I also wanted to give Ted an idea of what I do. So just so he knows, this is before we were going to do the movie. Okay. So there's a whole story here. So I sat down in the living room, and it was a semicircle of 10 people, and these people come in, and I just met Ted and Mary that night and whatever, and met everybody else. I didn't know who these people were. So he said to me, you didn't know this, but there was David and Linda were there. And what happened was this guy, David, lived in Arkansas and somehow got Mary Steenburgen's phone number and called her up and said, I heard you're going to have an event with James Van Praagh. Could I get a reading with him? And she said, I don't know how someone got a number, but she goes, well, if you can come from Arkansas to our house, we're going to have a session with about 10 people if you'd like to join us. He goes, yes, my wife and I just lost our daughter. We would love that. So that they were going to come out to LA. Fine. So about 2 or 3 weeks passed, I think it was, and Mary's gone back to Arkansas to see her family and do some visiting of something. And she was driving by a Walgreens and she heard a girl's voice say, "Go into the Walgreens, go into the Walgreens, go." And Mary, who's a bit very psychic herself, went into Walgreens, parked car, walked into Walgreens, and she's standing there and she's like, "What am I doing here? What?" And so I could buy some gum, looking around. And this man bumped in. She goes, "Mary." She goes, "Yes." She goes, "I'm David. I'm the man who called you on the phone about my daughter." And she goes, "Oh, are you?" And she said something like came over her, probably the daughter. So, "Are you coming out?" And he goes, "Yeah, my wife is in the parking lot. She's not sure." He goes, "Let's go speak with her." So they went out to the parking lot, and the wife, she said to the wife, "Are you coming to my house?" She goes, she goes, you have to come." So, and Mary's not like that, so she pushed them. Okay, so the night comes, and they came into the house. I don't know what any people were, and Ted said, "Well, three of them came. They brought a friend, I guess, for support because they didn't know what was going to happen." And Mary had never worked with him before, so she really didn't know what was going to happen, and she was hoping it would be successful because they're both kind of nervous, right? So we're sitting down, and Ted said, "You're going through your directions of things, and you start talking to their friend and giving her a reading from her father." And they're sitting, Ted and Mary are sitting going, "Oh, no, no, it's not supposed to be them. Oh, no." And suddenly, within like 5 minutes, I turned to the woman, the mother, and I said, "You've lost your daughter." And the daughter came right through. And it was an incredible, I guess, incredible reading, incredible messages. And even down to the daughter said something about, "Thanks, my classmates, for putting a heart in the window with the flowers around them. I really love that." And she mentioned her favorite saying, which was, I love to love and being loved. I think one of the greatest things is love and being loved. That's what was the greatest. That came through and she'd written down on pages. So what happened was she said, so that was that. So we found Ted called David up, said James is going to do the podcast, blah blah blah. So what happened was we did the podcast, and it was an amazing experience. And then that next Saturday, I got a text from Ted. He said, "David loved the podcast, he heard it, loved it, and he had some more news about his daughter Thea, and because that night changed him and his wife Linda's life, and they since have created a foundation of his daughter that sounds hundreds of thousands of people about children that pass over and grief and so forth." So he said, "You don't know this, but James kept on saying there's an American flag. She wants you to get the American flag. Look for under the American flag." So they didn't know what that meant, and they were on the way to Linda's mother's house. This is about 2 weeks after the reading, and they went to the mother's house, and Linda asked her mother, "Do you guys have an American flag?" And they said, the mother said, "Well, yeah, there could be one in the dress, in the chest. It's an old Civil War chest your dad has, and maybe there's something in there." They dug through it, and there was the American flag. They found an old American flag, and they lifted it up, and there was a stitching, like a needlepoint stitch type of thing. And with this saying, "I love to love, and love and love being loved."
Exactly the saying that you had
The
told
same
them.
phrase that the daughter used to use all the time and wrote down.
And you only found this out a few days ago.
Saturday, the day you were in that
the
store.
The day after the storm.
That's Saturday. And that's been on 20 years ago. And it was just one of those,
extraordinary validation, James.
Yeah, that's
extraordinary.
11 or a 10% or that. The 90% you can understand, you can try to get something, but that 10% you don't know about. Yeah, that was a 10%er.
Kathy is telling us that that's actually from Moulin Rouge. That quote.
Oh, is it? Okay, Kathy.
Thank you. We did not know that. Thank you.
And it's it's those things and Kelly and I were talking about how much we're in coincidence, which is coincidence God's way of remaining anonymous. I think the more open that you are, and the more you're in that mindset of open to discover new things and curious and expecting, it's almost like expecting miracles, and you know how it's going to come in, but like that same thing I showed him. They talked about my tattoo with my brother's tattoo that I.
Oh, that's right.
That's another 10%er. That tattoo.
That's right.
Because that was given to me, and I did that in Hawaii with my two girlfriends, and on our retreat. And then, for those who don't know, I came home that next week, and I was inspired to watch the Kennedy Honors Led Zeppelin. My brother's favorite band was Led Zeppelin. He used to play Up in Heaven every night. We'd go to sleep and turn that down, and. Watching that, there was an emblem on the drums. That was this tattoo, which was Led Zeppelin.
Which is really extraordinary.
My brother came through. So, being in that soul, living a soulful life is kind of expecting those things. Coincidence is God's way of remaining anonymous. It's true.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you one thing also. I was telling this also. I find that the more I'm more aware of being a soul in the human world, I find I'm more empathetic.
Yeah.
And I said, and there's going to be a big one, but Ted talked about political leaders and so forth. And I said, I'm going to tell you something as I was driving up to LA. I have empathy for people like this and other people. I just do. Because like you taught me many years ago, you have to love people or accept people for where they're at. Some people don't know good from bad. Some people don't know the right way to behave. I watch a lot of these cop videos because I'm just so fascinated. And I said to Kelly this morning, we've got to do a workshop because I was like watching these YouTube videos of the cops standing, and I was going to be a cop. I really wanted to be a cop. I really did. So I really honor them because they put their lives on the line. I really. And this bug is around me. So who's ever mother or father, it's probably your mother. So these people, I'm going to say younger generation, I don't know, but 20s, 30s, but there's an entitlement that, get out of the car, and they don't get out of the car. And I'm like, and they won't respect. There's no respect or manners. So I said, Kelly, why don't we do a workshop called From Entitlement to Enlightenment?
I love that. Immediately said, yes, sign us up. I think it's a great thing. That's a great show.
We're all together, and maybe it's the people that are alone and they're on the computers and social media, their devices, that they lose that sense of connecting with people. Mm-hmm. And I find that even when, I got a call today from those people that are on the script. Oh, we like to. I said, okay, I understand it. And you could have someone call me tomorrow. I'll be home at 4:00. But let me say, no, you can get off the script. I don't need the script anymore, but thank you. I appreciate you trying, but we've already set this up. I don't have to hear anymore, but thank you. I don't know what to do with that. And listen, I was on a script when I used to be ready. My first job in New York when I was 19, 20 years old, I worked for the TV Guide, and I had to call up people across the country at a certain time and try to sell them subscriptions for the TV.
I remember the TV Guide. I bet you did well with that.
Oh, they'd hang up. I'm just getting up. Why are you calling me? Yeah, that was back in the 60s.
Right. Oh, that's very funny. Oh my gosh!
Instead of seeing ourselves as a human, we should see ourselves as souls, have the human experience.
Well, what is the point of coming to Earth? Having a human experience for a soul.
I think, Kelly, that the material world. It's full of emotions, right? This is a place where this is the only school that I've heard of that is full on work with the emotional body, people interacting with each other. We've talked about that souls are coming here from all different levels of souldom, baby souls,
all the growth.
All the growth. It's all about growth. So it's and this is because you have souls, baby souls who are just experiencing things, old souls that have been around for eons, and maybe from other galaxies and planets, if you will, places of being. Sure. And I think that they work on. We talked about this, that when they get to the other side, they work on certain expertise or aspects of their soul to perfect that, and they come back maybe and teach it, or they'll use it in this current lifetime. But I think this is the place the building blocks are down here, because of the physical world. That's my understanding. So you'll have interactions with people. You'll have, because you have the baby souls and old souls, it creates scenarios, drama, if you will, because we expect people maybe, and then we have the ego, and then and then the whole thing about being born and then being kind of programmed to the adults, trying to have them get you to get an A in a test or do this, and we fall into that. If I do this, I'll get more love. We get into that hamster wheel. So I think that it's all about the interaction with people, its emotions, relationships, challenges, and lessons. And these are the things that help the soul evolve, expand, understand their awareness. And really, I think it's just it's a kind of a classroom for the soul. I think it's one of the most advanced places that we come down to. I think we talked about this one time before. I heard there's 1 in 11 souls that get to come down here, in here, into this space.
Over the weekend, that's really interesting. Somebody was talking, there was a guy talking about 1 in 15.
Okay, so it's like it's very much that way, and it's the purpose, of course. It's a chance to experience compassion, creativity, forgiveness, in the physical form, in this physical body, in this physical world, which is very different. It's more like you're acting it out. Where in other realms, there could be esoterically, you could think about it in a mental world, but here you actually get to act it out. so that we get all material and we go over there and work at it and study it, and then we come back here to use it. I think this is where we utilize it. And if we utilize it in the right way, our soul grows and expands in those aspects in that way. So we get a better understanding of forgiveness, a better understanding of patience. I think we have a better understanding than of those things. And sometimes it takes the hardest lessons to grow the most. And I just did a reading on Friday, I told you about. And I met a girl named Heidi, who was amazing. It was the last reading I did. It was the last of 10. I did 10 readings. And she was great. Fantastic soul. I loved her. She had a great sense of humor. She was Irish American living in New York. And she goes, James, I got to see it at the Beacon Theater 20 years ago. And I said, and she goes, and you didn't give me a reading. And I said, okay. And I said, the only thing I remember that night is there were these two people that had the children come through, one on the top balcony, one on the bottom, and they had the same rare disease. She goes, yeah, I remember that. So anyway, her sister came through, her sister Gigi, who was young when she passed, and her mother. And it was a really nice connection and really great thing, great characters. And at the end, she said, can I ask you a question? I said, yeah. And she said, I was a New York detective, and I was a 9/11 first responder. And she said, I've been sick ever since then.
Oh.
And she's now in a wheelchair, but she's able to get around a little because her sister Gigi said, you need to move more. So she said, well, I'm in bed with my, but thank God for my husband, Dan. She showed Dan the camera. And she goes, can you ask a question? My sister Gigi, can you ask her if it was right? Because she had cancer of the brain and of the breast cancer and the cervical cancer. And she wanted to go to Germany and get help over there, alternative help. And I had a brain. She goes, and she died in my arms. And I had to bring her home in the belly of a plane. It was the right thing to do. And that was a whole I'm like, wow. And this girl, and it was a great connection. And we're going to help
I thought her story was extraordinary, and the trauma that her soul had gone through. And she still had such an amazing life force.
You bet. Now, that bug that was sitting is now sitting on my top of my computer, just sitting here.
Wants to learn something.
Well, bringing some insights from the insect world.
There you go.
So, Pierre Chardin, he was the one that came up with, you're a soul, haven't even experienced that the other way around. It's such a phrase and saying that we use so much of. So
I think it's so important. And, everybody who comes to Earth is going to learn something differently because we're all very different on so many different levels. And so each
have to learn different lessons, really.
Exactly. And I believe that each experience, James, that people have on Earth has been like carefully cultivated for them, for their unique way of learning and growing.
Isn't it funny that, there are people that we've talked about this, I've had people on my sites talk about this, about life before life. And we know that before we come back, we sit with our guides, our teachers and loved ones. And one of my good friends remembers a lot of it. Sitting at the back of the table, he remembers the certain guides that were there. And I remember how they were dressed, and he had a decision to be a dark-haired guy or a blonde-haired guy. And if he had blonde hair, more opportunities would come to him, and the dark the hair wouldn't do that as much. And would he have a wife, or would he go through a divorce? All these different things. And he remembers that in a dream state, really clearly. We pick out those. We pick the life, if you will. We pick the body. We pick the experience because we want the most optimum time. And the optimum time for not only us, but our soul group, and for the opportunities, the opportunities to grow and to learn. So there'll be a lot of opportunities. Do we take advantage of it in this earth? Not always, because sometimes we don't make the right choice because we're caught up in our head, not our intuition, not our heart. We don't listen to our natural tuning fork. The head, the critical brain takes it away sometimes, and it puts us in trouble.
That is so true. That is so true. And I loved what you said earlier about Earth is building blocks. That's a good way to view the school on Earth when you're having a human experience.
It's true. My teacher taught me that. Brian Hurst, many, many years ago, said this is the physical blocks, the ABCs, and we learned here.
And some people are in the ABCs of it. They're really in the elementary part of it.
Yeah, and we got and as you and I talk about, there are a lot of souls that are sleepwalkers.
Oh yeah. Yes.
I just heard someone say, your brother's playing with you. That's why this fly is all over.
Michael.
Because the fly just did a circle around my picture here.
It's so Michael.
Thanks. It's so my brother.
It's so Michael. Oh my God.
And it's very interesting, but I think people have to start changing in that soul self. that to realize that people ask, what's the soul? Well, the soul is that eternal essence, eternal essence, connected. If you want to say that connected, that source, light, that conscious that lives on, never goes away, as it has been, will always be. And we had a soul as we came into the physical realm, the form, and in a really weird way, and I don't think it's solid, like black and white, but I probably you too, Kelly, have a weird sense of maybe that I came into the body. I felt restricted. I remember that.
Oh, totally.
You remember that? Like having
yes,
a feeling
very much. I remember being in my mom's womb, and I remember flying out and flying back in and feeling her anxiety and going back out and coming back in. And okay, now it's really time to make that shift. Because
I remember. I remember the time of being in my mother's the embryo, the sack of water, and she had drank. She was an alcoholic, and she was drinking during pregnancy and smoking. I remember the smoke was like nowadays. Smoking, but I remember that it was the drink, the alcohol is like poison, like so tart. I'm like, no, and I kept on sending thoughts. No, that's going to hurt both of us. Don't do that. Don't do that. I remember that. Yeah. So it's interesting. And, there's that book, Life Before Life. And it's really interesting because they talk about, they know the conditions of the mother and father right before they're born, the mindsets of each one, what the conditions. Spirit often talks about the conditions of life, the conditions you're going into, very, very much so.
Right. So, because it's a setup for going forward and learning what we're supposed to learn. So you would think a logic mind would say, well, why would we choose that?
Well, every soul, like I said, chooses a particular body and helps them to their life path to learn these lessons of love.
Immediately gets them on their life path.
Right away, compassion and growth. And I always say, people say, well, can you go off your path? And I'm like, well, there's I always put it like there's an analogy. If you go into a forest on a trail, and you come across this lake, and as you have the choice to go down and sit by the lake, but eventually your higher self will get you to go back on that path. Right. You can spend as much time as you want, but eventually you'll get back to where you've been.
Yeah, that is so true. And when we come to Earth as a soul, we sign up for lots of classes, lots of classes here, and some of the classes, some of the classes are going to be really hard. I mean, we're going to have betrayal. That's a big class, right?
Good one. Yeah.
That's a good one. We're going to start
dishonesty, mistrust.
Dishonesty. My gosh, to overcome fear. I work with a lot of souls in my practice, overcoming fear.
Yeah. Gaslighting, abuse.
Abuse. Loss.
Trauma, loss.
Abuse, trauma. Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, that's like the highlights. That's, I'll take a package A. Oh, okay, you're going to get betrayal. And you're going to get all kinds of things.
I had a dream last night, and it was very interesting. And I've been around certain people that have done certain things around me. And it was very interesting. And I was speaking to them in the dream state saying, don't you understand? This is what you did to me, blah, blah, this. And it was as if they didn't understand that. They didn't know that.
Interesting. Now, do you know who it was? That can
affect somebody? Yeah, I do. Okay. But don't you know that can affect someone? They were like, no. Didn't even think of that.
Well, interesting enough, I had an experience with a woman over the weekend who, bless her heart, had a really extraordinary a husband who had committed a bad crime. I'm just going to leave it at that.
Yeah.
And she was reading my book. And while she was reading my book, it hit her. She heard a voice that said to her husband that he needed to apologize. So apologies are very important in the human realm here. And I guess that hadn't been a thought before. So immediately they went to the cemetery to apologize to this person that had been harmed.
And they have to go to the cemetery. They can do it with their
right, but that's what she did. And the next day, all the energy shifted.
Yeah.
It was an extraordinary story. Yeah.
The work Kelly and I do as mediums, it's really, as Maeve Matilda said to us, we work for the spirit world. We don't work for humans. But it's really those people that pass to the other side. And I don't want to say stuck, but I want to say, and I might want to say upset.
Limited. I don't know what the other word is.
But I want to say like they pass over and they should have done better.
Yeah, should have done better.
It stays with them all the time. I should have shown my daughter more love. Why didn't I tell my daughter I loved her? Why couldn't I have done this? And that could be a living hell, right? Because you go through the vibration. And so mediums are really the the ones who are counseling, the spirit, they help the spirit people to move on by giving that message to the loved one on the earth, and the loved one can change and forgive them in the spirit. So it's really good. And Kelly, you said something, you had a dream, which I want to tell everybody about. You talked
Which
about.
dream was it? I had
You told me this morning you had the dream that you mediums are, we are some term you used. And
was that
the term that we are holders of something, or
I'll tell you what it was. Oh my God.
It was a good one. I said, we got to mention that tonight.
Oh my God. It was, we are so when you come to Earth, it's about being a sponsor.
Yeah, that's the word.
When you come, so this came to me in a dream state, like I'm telling you, the last couple of weeks, it's been download like you, James, a lot of downloads. Yeah. And this was really interesting because it was about how before we choose a mother and a father, they are actually our sponsors.
Yeah.
They sponsor us on Earth, and they'll come here to sponsor us. Maybe they will come, if there's an adoption, maybe one of the sponsors is, I'll just bring the baby in, and another sponsor will be, I'll raise the baby. Different sponsors. You might have a mentor sponsor. You might have a mother, a father, mentor, a grandparent sponsor, but they sponsor you on Earth.
Yeah.
I thought that was an interesting
thing. Even a child can, do that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sponsors.
So I wanted to say something to people about life, the challenges that people go through as a soul when they come to this earth. Why would God do this? And they're not punishments. These challenges go through, they're not punishments. It really is to help expand you. It's in your curriculum, and it's going to expand you. And being that soul, that pure essence, that energy, which doesn't never die. There's no end of energy. So at death, you simply step out of the physical shell and connect back into that beautiful, you return to that essence, that true essence, we want to call that force, that source energy, that you are part of the source. And I had an analogy, which I told you about, Kelly, which you liked a lot, which I got from, I can't remember, forgive me, it's not my original one, it's from a spiritual teacher, which I forgot his name, he's been up for a long time. And he said, if anyone knows it, let me know. There's you have a bucket of water, there's a full moon. And if there's a full moon coming down, like a super moon on a Friday, right? Or was it Wednesday? We had a super moon. And you get a bunch of buckets of water, put about, 100 buckets of water. And if you look at each individual bucket, you'll see the moon within each one because it reflects that light, every bucket. But they're separate buckets, but yet they're the same moon. There's that oneness. So same thing with us. We all have that same source of energy. We're just different buckets, but we're all made the same. Is that fabulous?
That's a really, really great one. That's a great one. Well, and the thing is too, Earth is a school of duality. Yeah. It means the opposite of this or that, or this or that. So all of these different lenses that we can use to learn for our soul to grow, to change our consciousness. And that's the whole point of coming to Earth, is to grow your consciousness, ultimately bringing you closer to source.
And if you judge, it's all fear-based, the judgment. Yeah. So when you have fear and just be aware of it, it can teach you, but it also can hold you back and hinder your growth. Because fear, if you judge another, it's fear-based. And you're shutting the door of growth. You're shutting the door of opportunity. You're shutting the door of learning about diversity, if you will. And that's how we grow, by learning all these different types of ways of doing things, of how people live life and behave. And it's hard, like I said, to judge because we're not walking in their shoes. We don't know what level of understanding they're on. We don't have to necessarily agree with it. Mm-hmm. Like I certainly don't agree with a lot of things that are going on, but I'm aware that, I'm aware. Mm-hmm. I'm just aware of all these different buckets.
Yeah, lots of different buckets. And there's, I think the ultimate thing, James, on Earth is to have compassion. That's the ultimate to me.
Yeah, I think with passion. There's a lady that works at my gym, and she's forever vacuuming. It's a big gym, and she's the only one I've ever seen vacuum like crazy. And I play with her. I say, Letitia, you're just so good. And I was the other day, and she goes, I see it next to vacuuming. You have the rowing machines.
Oh my gosh!
She goes, and I see her there, and I take off my headphones. Like, hey, sweetie. She goes, oh. She goes, don't row to the moon. But she's just compassionate. Just talking about her today from a friend of the gym. Well, she's full of compassion. So, yes, and I love that Latin COM, with passion. With love.
Passion.
And if you do everything with passion, that's what it's about. That's really what it's about. It's about passion.
Yeah. So we choose different things to come on earth to learn and to grow, ultimately to get us to compassion.
Yeah, the human experience, it's a sacred opportunity, and I'm saying for the soul to walk in balance with nature and the spiritual worlds. So we're part of everything. We're part of the flowers and the trees, and when you open yourself up to that energy, is part of all the energy of everything. That's I think that opens you up. It expands you. And what are you going to learn from a person if they hurt you or better? Okay, instead of getting judgment, it's like, okay, what are they teaching me? This, Kelly, I heard this years ago, which I like, and I don't know if it makes sense, but that everybody you meet, or someone you meet, let's say you're in conflict with in some ways, or you maybe there's something you can't forgive about somebody. And I always heard that they're a direct mirror to yourself.
Oh,
So
yes.
what within you can you not forgive?
Yeah,
What
absolutely.
you are you angry at? That's interesting.
Yeah. I mean,
So,
why is this situation happening? It's because Eckhart Tolle will say it's the experience your soul is needing to have.
yeah, your soul's
So
guiding you. There's
your
yeah,
soul is guiding you. Yeah.
soul is guiding you. And the more in tune you are with that soul essence, and intuition is the soul's voice, then you'll get it right. Having that awareness, living a soulful life.
Living a soulful life. Please God.
Please, God.
Oh
Yes, please.
gosh. So James, what do you have coming up?
Well, I'm very excited. I'm still taking mediumship too. We're just for the end of applicants. If there are people that want to do that, probably this day tomorrow is the last one. But we're doing starting tomorrow. We're going to start selling the writer's course, and that's going to be a 6-month course. And if you ever want to write a book on any subject, I will be your teacher. And
He's the best, everybody. Really the best.
one of my favorite courses because I can talk about cover ideas, outline ideas, sections, how to write the book, the type of book you're doing. We do fiction, nonfiction. I can't do science fiction. That I can't do.
Yeah.
So I won't because I don't know enough about it. Biographies are great. A lot of people write about people that have changed their lives, people that have passed on, major changes. And I've had over 40 students have their books published, self-published and published. So yeah, it's a great course. If you're ever want to write a book, this course is for you. And
it's amazing.
Yeah, I did it because I was with Hay House Publishers, and I went to one of their meetings for writers for their writing books, and they weren't really giving them anything. I thought, wait a minute,
I was with you at one of those.
That's right.
In Hawaii.
You were at that one.
I was.
That's right. And that van ride to the hotel.
Oh, I remember, and that's when you really got excited and said, "I'm going to do this."
Yeah, that's right. That's when I said
it was after that van ride. Yeah.
And I'm also doing a book. I'm writing my autobiography right now, along with students I'll be writing. So we'll exchange with each other and see how we're doing. So
wow.
That's at the JVP School Mystical, my school. So yeah.
Yay.
And I'm also going to be joining you on Saturday.
We're so excited. So we have for the end of the year, we have the Roots of Healing. So healing the chaos within, and that's going to be
Kelly, come on, that name. The chaos within is why I said I got to be there.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Everybody has chaos. So
everybody, we're going to look at all kinds of different situations and different disorders and different situations that happen to people that have so much chaos. And Shirley is so great. Dr. Shirley Pellizzari, she's going to be working with tips for helping with people with dysregulation. Because what happens when you have all this chaos from all these family situations or relationships or anything, you get dysregulated. So we're going to work with dysregulation. We're going to talk about karmic imprints. And then
probably talk about letting go and releasing some of that chaos or what to do with the chaos. And
you betcha we are. We have tips on that. Yes, we are going to work with. And what's really great is it's a smaller group. So people will be able to ask all kinds of questions, personal questions. And you're going to have me, Dr. Shirley Pellizzari, Carrie Gonia, who's going to do a family constellation. And then James is going to do a fabulous meditation to bring us all back together.
And Kelly, let me ask you this. You're going to have breakout rooms as well in there?
No, we're not going to do breakout rooms.
Just lectures and questions.
Yeah, and questions, and then a full family constellation. So everybody will have the family constellation too, which is extraordinary that Carrie Gonia does for family generational trauma. It's going to be really good.
Well, maybe I'll come in toward the end and do a little exercise before meditation.
Please do. Well, I'm excited. Whatever it is you want to do. And also, I want to tell you this, James, and I forgot to mention this the last time, that I'm teaching a class with Janelle Campbell on December 12th, Angels and Archangels, and it's angelic guidance for 2026. Wow, that's great. So please join us. You can find that on my website. We're really excited. I love working with Janelle, and she channels the angels. And we did this last year, and it was phenomenal. So we're really excited about that.
Great. I'm going to go next October down to visit her and do a workshop in Australia.
Are you? Next October?
Yeah, I'm going for a week, 2 weeks. I'll be doing a workshop, a whole week workshop and a demonstration.
I think that's fantastic.
I've been to Australia and Sydney for years. So, John Edward goes all the time. He's really well known down there. And he said, yeah, you should go and do it. So I'm going to go do it.
I would do with you the last time. It was so fun.
Yeah. And also everybody who's wants to do this, I'm doing readings at the end of November. I have doing 2 more 10 groups. So I have one in December coming up, one in November, and they'll be on my website. So the other one's just sold out. So the one coming up in 2 weeks will be next Friday, week from Friday will be available.
Fantastic. Oh my gosh. So you have lots of good things to look forward to.
Yeah, some great things.
All right. Well, thank you, James.
Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next week.
We'll see you next week. Okay, bye-bye.